Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. As Envoy prepares for the Vanguard season here with Los Angeles Thieves, he's discussing how he needs to improve for next year of competition if they are going to compete on the highest level, and saying that Crimsix has a pretty good idea generally on how he ranks these particular players, but also Nade revealing that Crim was a Los Angeles Thieves target during this off-season. Very much intrigued to get your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button is the best thing you can do. To help the channel reach new people, please consider subscribing as well if you have not yet already. About 50% of you guys will not yet be subscribed, which, all you have to do is free. It's beautiful stuff. Firstly, this from a Romer I thought was interesting. Of course, I'm not exactly sure where he gets his sources from on this. Seems like maybe a sources just trust me bro type thing, but I suppose we will see. Just want to state from the information he's been told, the Ricochet anti-cheat is going to be useless. The only thing it's going to stop is some of these like level 1000, like obvious spin bot blatant cheaters. Radar and walls will not be prevented apparently. Now look, I don't know how he knows this, if this is of course going to be the case anyway. Zero says yes, the anti-cheat is not going to stop everything. Like some things are going to get through the anti-cheat, that's always how it goes. But with any luck, we'd have thought things like radar hacks and wall hacks and stuff like this should be prevented by the Ricochet anti-cheat, you would think, right? Of course, it's coming to Warzone here in just a couple of days, and then hopefully to multiplayer soon after that. That's of course going to be massive for the challenger side and also potentially for the pro side as well, just to make sure nothing dodgy at all is going on, because there has been some talk about that, especially during the Modern Warfare season, right? Like there was a lot of talk about Awakening. I don't think there's any validity to that stuff anyway, but it was at least being talked about at the time, and Ricochet hopefully will just get rid of all those questions in the air. Now, maybe that won't well be the case, right? Because in Valorant, to be fair, like the Valorant anti-cheat is really good, I'm pretty sure. It's called Vanguard, I think, and I'm pretty sure you can't get away with much in Valorant, or you're just going to get straight ban-hammered. Some anti-cheats are more intrusive than others. I think the Ricochet is probably going to be, at least from what we heard, it's going to be relatively intrusive. I guess some things will get through the cracks. Hopefully it's not completely useless though, because that is not going to be good for anyone. This I also wanted to mention from Parasite, because we did discuss earlier today Los Angeles Thieves. They're going to live out there on the west coast now in of course LA, in the 100 Thieves compound over there. And what does that potentially mean for playing online? Because even if the CDL servers are pretty good out in LA now for the matches they might potentially still be playing online, in terms of practicing against other rosters, that might not be so ideal. Then again though, if you're putting yourself at a ping disadvantage in those kind of scrims and practices up against other teams, then maybe that makes you even better when you go on a good ping situation. Potentially, it's tough to say, but as Parasite says, couldn't tell you how much living in Texas and having fiber helped my mood get better. Was literally always so angry every day, which didn't help my inherent toxicity, which I could have done it sooner, right? So saying, yes, get off the West Coast if you want to, compete in the challenger side, but, Los Angeles Thieves taking a different approach clearly in the professional scene. This also I thought was kind of funny, because Parasite has made it very clear the last couple of weeks that, he's not backing down, right? Anything the CDL do wrong, anything he thinks is stupid within the scene, he's going to call it out and make his opinion known on the timeline. He's taken everyone down with him. Paro is still out. Activision got tired of my negative tweet and is trying to take me out for good, he says. Thought this is kind of funny, but Parasite, this man simply cannot be stopped, it seems, at the present time. Wanted to go through some scrim results as well, because you guys generally enjoyed this one. I think someone messaged CDL Scrim Intel to say, might as well change your account name to OpTic Scrim Intel or whatever. But, he can't really help the fact that pretty much the only team that's streaming scrims at the present time and streaming this practice is OpTic Texas, right? Which, of course, generally is the case most years. I don't know how long this is going to last for. Hopefully for a long period of time. It's great to watch this stuff and see how these teams are going. And they play up against Seattle Surge last night. This scrim set goes 6-1 in the end. It's definitely early in this game, Seattle Surge were looking really good. You guys might remember they had that 0-4 map win set they had against Atlanta FaZe, where they beat FaZe 4-0 in a set of scrims. They end up only playing Bacage once here in this second series, which Seattle Surge actually win. Definitely, Bacage Hopwin is probably the one that's on the chopping block right now the most in the professional side of things. I think on paper, just looking at the map, the way it's laid out, it should be kind of good. But just the way it plays with the respawn delay, the amount of engagements is absurd. I think a lot of the pros aren't particularly happy with it right now. And of course, they only play it once here in this second series. But, that's the thing. They play 2 sets of hardpoint really here. That's what most scrims are like right now, because there's no third game mode. You guys know how it is. They also play Florida in a very similar situation. They only play Bacage once, because I guess it's too taxing. They lose this one 175 to 184. Kind of crazy, right? There's so many engagements, so much contesting going on. The game doesn't even go to time. So really interesting map, to be honest. This one goes 5-2. So OpTic's still looking solid. Florida and Seattle, they should be in theory, middle lower of the pack teams, I guess, at least towards the start of the year. Things are just too competitive this year to put them too much higher than that. But OpTic is certainly in there or thereabouts. Tier list, I'm sure these discussions we are going to continue to have here over the coming days and weeks. Let's discuss this, and I thought this is kind of funny from Crimsix really. At Dashy, hands up Crimstone here, right? Because of course Dashy plays a lot of Valorant, and Brimstone is one of the characters, looking kind of like Crimsix specifically in this image. But of course there was a fair bit of talk a couple of weeks ago from the likes of Crimsix saying, look, okay, how good was Dashy really in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War? Did he he deserved the kind of top 10, top 15 player ranking a lot of people were giving him. And of course, he was coming up with his top list, so he could do that $50,000 tournament he put on and make sure, like, well, the captains were the best players, at least in his opinion. He put Envoy in the end at 15th, and Envoy is talking about too in this clip I'll share in just a second, that yeah, okay, he put me at 15th. Definitely I wasn't as good in Cold War as I was back in Modern Warfare, for example. Hopefully Envoy is going to try and improve that level once again this year, but he says, look, Crimsix, he has a relatively good idea of how he's ranking these particular players, which I thought was definitely an interesting observation given what else Envoy has to say, that he says, look, Crim's actually pretty good at ranking these players based on their playstyle and these other factors that, maybe fans don't generally consider. So maybe he's kind of looking there at the fact that he ranks Dashy, that being Crimsix, down in the 24th position, and Envoy's kind of saying, maybe actually Crimsix has a good idea what he's talking about there, given Envoy's experience potentially on that roster last year, that he wasn't necessarily too happy with how things are going. The other part of the clip I'll share for you guys as well is that Crimsix to Los Angeles Thieves was considered on the table.
You're obviously one of the best players. I mean, I didn't really know much about you
last year.
Well,
but we're working our way back there.
For what it's worth, at the beginning of Cold War, when I was talking to JCap about you, I was telling him that I was playing a tournament with you. He's like, "Oh, you're good." I'm like, "Wait, is Envoy that nasty?" He's like, "Yeah,
he's got you."
Envoy's gross, like one of the best players.
Some premium gas at a cap.
Which is wild to think about, though, just because I've known all of the Call of Duty players in the competitive community for pretty much my entire career, and now I'm sort of like on the outskirts. I don't really know where you guys all stack up together. So to that point, where do you think you were at in Cold War? You don't think you were top 10?
I mean, Crimsix ranked me like top 15.
We'll take that.
That's pretty good.
Crim's a psycho, but I respect his opinion on players.
He has good opinions on like people and how to play the game. So I'd probably say top 15, top 20.
Yeah?
Yeah. But stats didn't show it, but like I feel like the shit I did on the map, like, proved like I knew what I was doing.
Perfect. That's fire. I'm excited. I'm actually shocked too. I would have been shocked if you went and played with Clay and Crim, because listen, Crim was even an option for us.
Yeah. And
for a while I was thinking about it. And not that I'm the only one that makes a decision, but if I talk to Eric and like, hey, tell me what you think about Crim, sometimes I have a hard time, like, even when I like try to poke holes in Eric, too, and Mud Dog on decisions of the roster, because...
So this was the list that Crimsix came up with a couple of weeks ago. We see Dashy down here in the 24th position, Envoy in 15th, as he said. So Envoy clearly paying close attention to where Crimsix ranked him last year. And Envoy even says, top 15, top 20. Envoy doesn't really think he was that good at the last title, but he thinks in this ballpark is probably about fair enough. Now, he doesn't say anything, of course, about where Dashy was ranked and really his other teammates were ranked, but he just says in general, Crim has a good idea how to rank these players on a lot of different factors that don't necessarily just include, raw skill and raw performances like a lot of the other, ranking systems generally do, with something more subjective like this. So maybe there was some indication there, because of course we know that Envoy did discuss during the off-season the fact that, the team last year, the OpTic team, wasn't particularly committed. Envoy did recognize that it was his fault as well at times in terms of not putting in all the time and the practice time and stuff like this, but maybe he also has some thoughts about the kind of the mindset, or at least the philosophy of how that team actually played the game, and thought, okay, maybe some things weren't necessarily up to par. Of course, I didn't say anything specifically, but just something I thought was interesting to have a look at, and also the whole Crimsix potential question to Los Angeles Thieves, because I really thought when Envoy and Crim both got dropped from their rosters in exactly the same day, Envoy also said in that episode at the start that he actually first found out that he was dropped from Crimsix, because Crim found out he was dropped, he told Envoy what was going on, and Envoy was like, okay, yeah, actually, probably I've been dropped too as well, given the merger that is going on. And I thought, honestly, that Crimsix and Envoy, that kind of duo, 14th to 15th right here, as Crimsix puts it, was actually going to be a team for next year. They might find a squad and go together into a roster. Now, of course, Crim and Clayster ended up teaming together on the subliners, and I think Envoy could actually have gone over there. We talked about the subliners was potentially an option for him during the off-season. He, of course, goes to LA Thieves, and potentially Crim could have come there with him as well, right? It's not out of the realms of possibility that, Crimsix plus Octane, I mean, that would have been, I don't know if those two would really get on, but I think Octane was going to come there anyway. And, maybe Crimsix could have found his way into that team in some weird dynamic with Kenny and Envoy in the SMGs. It would have been a weird one for sure. I'm not sure that would necessarily have worked in the long term, but it's something they might have considered giving a go here at least. So yes, Crimsix potentially could have gone to LA Thieves, and Envoy is also looking at this situation thinking, okay, Crimsix probably got a good idea. Definitely someone who he may team with in the future, right? Who knows how things go down, how long Crimsix competes for, and how long these guys team together, because I thought this is kind of funny from Crimsix earlier this year in March. You versus the guy she told you not to worry about. And I mean, yeah, here's Envoy, and here's Crimsix Crimsix just lining it up, right? I mean, look at this guy. He's absolutely out of control. He's thin 6 back in business right here, even though this is back in March. So I think he went from thin 6 to thick 6 and maybe back to thin 6 here for the upcoming season. And that's, of course, a good sign for the subliners. But yeah, just kind of some crazy dynamics here, really, between some of these guys and the possibilities that could have gone down during this past off-season. And, you know, given we were talking earlier about the scrim sets, right, and the fact that, yes, all of these teams even playing at right now in some of these scrim set game modes, this is what Methods has to say. I think the third game mode should be prop hunt, and, you know, maybe this is in fact going to be going down, because there was some talk like, what should the third game mode be? Control CTF, you know, prop hunt, you know, just go for a free fall, or like get the guys in the ring or something like that. I'm not really sure what you can even do. But as Slasher says, prop hunt could have a good case for being better than Bacage Hardpoint, right? That's the thing at the present time. It's not the greatest map in the world, at least a lot of players would agree. Clearly, the OpTic guys don't tend to really want to scrim it too much. They only play it once in both of those scrim sets that we looked at. They lost it both times, so maybe they would be down for prop hunt to be going through. I'm sure the gentleman's agreements in terms of like what props got banned and stuff would be absolutely through the roof. And just to finish this off, that Slim, I believe, made over at the Breaking Point Instagram account a couple of weeks ago now. I'm not really sure when he made this, but I thought this was great, especially related to that previous point. You know, basically ranking the players based on how they would do in a fight. So potentially this is how you settle the series if it goes down, you know, 2-2 or whatever. Maybe you don't even play the third game, but you just go hardpoint search, and then you have a 1v1 between the captains in the ring to decide who wins if it goes down 2-2. And I mean, yeah, we'll knock someone out. You got Crimsix, you know, Scraps and Shawnee. Thought this is kind of interesting, really, because I think Gunless maybe deserves to be up there a little bit. Definitely, you can mess around with this a little bit more. Like, we'll put up a good fight. Definitely, I mean, obviously, reach, you know, height, these kind of factors, like weight, are going to be pretty important in this type of discussions. We'll put up a fight, but lose is Scump and Envoy and these guys. So, I mean, yeah, you guys can probably see it on the screen. Obviously, the pictures aren't in the greatest quality, but I'm sure you can tell what's going on. And then I thought this is kind of funny down here as well. We'll lose a 1v1 to Envoy. That's TJ at the bottom. We'll snake ahead in real life is Cellium, and it doesn't stand a chance. I mean, Silly definitely stands a chance. This guy's 6'3", like, this guy's fully tatted. This guy could probably knock someone out. So I think that Silly definitely, you know, I think most of the rankings here are actually not too bad, but, you know, I think, like, Silly probably should be a little bit higher on this list right now. And I guess you guys can comment below where else this list went a little bit wrong, but very much intrigued to get your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting that like button tells the YouTube gods this is a good video, and I was like, you should see it as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.